Hey YouTubers, welcome to World Cinema Reviews. This is your host Frank the Vamp, and I'm glad you're here with me because we're totally gonna talk about a great movie review today. Um, I finally saw the Babadook. Yes, I'm way late to the party. I don't know why I haven't seen it, but I finally saw it. And guess what? Just like everybody said, I also thought it was fantastic. And I want to do a review about it. But I think doing an ordinary, regular review will be kind of pointless because everybody's already done it. In fact, some people's done it almost to perfection. A lot of spoiler-free reviews. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna talk spoilers. We're gonna really dive into places which I haven't seen too much talked about in things because people are avoiding to talk about what went on. So I actually want to talk about what went on and see if I can put some different points of view here and dig something that hasn't been spoken about before. So, I mean, having said that, please, if you have not seen the Babadook, turn the video off right now and I'll refer you to Andrew's video review, spoiler free review about the Babadook. That's the best one I've seen. He's fantastic. Subscribe to him. Um, I think I'll put a link on it so you guys can go there if you have not seen the Babadook. Now, if you've seen it, then you're in the right place. We're gonna talk about it. And if you still wanna, if you're still seeing the Babadook, you still wanna check out Grumpy and just go ahead, which is really great. But anyways, now on to the review. So you've been warned. We're talking major spoilers here. So here we go. The Babadook is a 2014 film directed by the awesome Jennifer Kent, starring, I think I'm pronouncing it right. Essie is Essie Davis. That's the mother, and Noah Weissman as a child, as her child, and we're going to talk a little bit about the story before we're going to set it up before we actually start talking about the spoilers. So first of all, so we got a tragic situation. We got a mother that's taking care of her 6-year-old son. They both been through a traumatic experiences of growing up. When she was in labor, with her son, uh, there was a car accident where her husband passed away, leaving her a widow, and and afterwards with a child, and having to be a single mother all of a sudden, and that's actually the least of her worries. She has a lot of stress because she's taking care of a child by herself, and this child is no ordinary child. This child has emotional problems, trouble relating to others. He has, a little bit of violent fits, obsessions with monsters, and protecting her mother from monsters, and using weapons, hurting other children. I mean, it's a handful. It's really stressful on a mother, which is hinted that she's a writer and she can't really be doing her writing. She's working at a, how do you call it? It's a place for, like an asylum, like a place for um, elderly people, like a retirement home, so to speak. It's a really tough job, that she's having to do. So, um, talking about this, it's a really rough environment, which is really stressing her out, and it's a handful, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming up next. This film, the way it went, it was unbelievable, and a lot of people may think, oh, there's no films like this. I kind of agree. There's very few films, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna make a good point why. But I want to compare it to some films that I think will be kind of closer. They're kind of psychological thrillers. For example, the film 12 Monkeys. Have you seen the film 12 Monkeys with Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt, where Bruce Willis is a time traveler that gets sent to stop a deadly virus, but because supposedly he's sent to the wrong time, he goes to he's captured and trapped in a mental institution because, of course, nobody believes that he is like like a time traveler, and and the film kind of makes you decide whether you believe that he's really a time traveler trying to stop a deadly virus, or he's a mental patient having a schizophrenic episode. Um, Now, Bug, that's another movie. That's a trip. Directed by the same director, William Friedkin, the same director of The Exorcist. It's unbelievably cool movie, man. This guy has a stranger and a lady meet up, and then he starts saying that he's getting bit by invisible bugs to the naked eye, and that there's some kind of conspiracy, from the government or who knows. And the film just kind of takes you to, hey, is this real or is this a mental illness induced thing, kind of like 12 Monkeys. The other one that I would think kind of is kind of like it was Frailty, where you have this guy who he thinks that God is telling him. By the way, I reviewed this film, so if you want to check it out, feel free to to click on it and watch it. Now, Frailty deals with this guy that believes that he's been sent by God to kill demons, and demons hide on the skins of regular people, and the only way to free them is to pretty much kill them. And the creepiest thing about Other is that he's kind of teaching his two children to do the same thing. Unbelievably great, guys. I can't say enough about these films, but they kind of resemble, kind of have the same vibe. But there's one major big point here. Even though you may argue this point, and I'm going to try to debate it if you can, that there is no supernatural side to the Babadook, really. I mean, it is clearly, after seeing it, a case of mental illness, and I'll try to put my point. Um, like in the other ones, you kind of doubt, but maybe at some point you still believe that this is a ghost, this is a demon, or a case of possession. But I'm gonna tell you why I firmly believe that this is not, and this is not obviously not the intent of the writer, of the director Jennifer Kent. By the way, she directed a short called "The Monster," which is she calls, I think, believes that she says that she calls it the baby Babadook. Go to YouTube or search. I don't know, and you can watch it. I've seen it before, and it's a pretty cool short, and it's kind of like where the Babadook came from after watching it. It's like a condensed version. It's really good. So since where we're short on the subject of bugs, um, let's talk let's talk about hallucinations. Now, talking about hallucinations, remember the moment when she sees the bugs, she sees the cockroaches behind the fridge, and there's like a little side split from the wallpaper, and then there's a big hole, and there's all kinds of bugs coming around her. Then the people from the child services see the same place, and there's no hole anymore. You may also say that's supernatural, okay? You know how we see in many horror films, but just wait on. We keep going, and this can be a very seeing bugs is actually a very common side of many mental illnesses. Insomnia, how she asked, the doctor, hey, we need to sleep. The seizures, the catatonic, like is a real could be a real sign of schizophrenia. When the kid is found underneath the bed, or pretty much is catatonic, just with his eyes wide open, horrified, kind of frozen. Now, um, then there's the side of depression and social isolation. The mother pulls the kid out of school, doesn't put him back into any other school. She doesn't want to go to work. She doesn't want to come out. It's just unbelievably bad, and that's again another sign of mental illness. Now, there's a there's a book called the Diagnosing and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, known as DSM-5, that has a subtype which is paranoid with insane jealousy and or insane religious motivation. We see the fact that one big thing here is that the father, I mean the mom resents her son a lot, because of the problems he's putting it through. Uh, she says to him at some point that, hey, I wish that your you die instead of your father, and that, traumatizing thing to say to your child, but she's really speaking from her inner self, and her inner self resents. It's sort of I didn't look up the word, but it's a hatred of the mother towards the child, which can be, a pathogen. It could be, something that could be insidious, in the person. So we're observing all these things that are, we see all these things that are really, really, you know, schizophrenic things, schizophrenic symptoms. Yeah, we see at some point that, the kid gets tossed around. We don't see what it is, but it could be her, right? It could be her tossing him around. We don't, we know that we can have a, because they're both of the persons involved are disturbed. I don't think that the kid has the degree of illness that her mother has, but there's some really strong signs. This kid needs to be taken to a psychiatrist immediately. If I was to diagnose that, I'm not a doctor, but from what I read, yes, it's really now. Here's one creepy factor. If you still believe that that this is a supernatural thing that happened, let me tell you a couple of reasons why it's not. So two ways. One is that the end with the appeasement of the, let's say that this is a demon or an evil spirit. The spirit is fed worms and it's left in the basement, and that appeases it, doesn't attack it, doesn't have, or or is it a supernatural force fueled by fear? I guess you could say there's a long shot to say that it could be that, and that's why, because they both decided no longer to fear it, then then they can contain him in the basement. It doesn't make sense though. And here's the number one or definitive reason why the Babadook is not a supernatural being. It's it's definitely when you have, when at the end of the movie, it's a short phrase when the kid says, "Can I see him?" And then the mother answers, "One day, when you're older," or something like that. Why can't he see him now? Or it appears that he never saw it. He was just frightened by their mother actions, but didn't quite see the Babadook. She saw him, but he didn't. And this is arguably, but it's really like it's really something, you know. And guess what? Mental illness is usually appears in the full blown form after teenage years. So she's saying, yeah, one day you'll see it when you're. So the director's trying to tell us, hey, this is a developed disease that when he hits puberty, he's probably going to see the Babadook again. Now, where did the book? So I hope that that's that. But where did the book come from? Because this opens up a lot of different, ideas. So if this is not supernatural, where did the book come from? Was the book blank entirely? Think about this. Okay, we see the illustrations. Who wrote the book? If this is not supernatural, did she do it? Because it's nice illustration. It kind of looks the way that a book, that one of those pop-up book for children will do. But it's just a very creepy, disturbing book. Obviously not intended for children. Who got it? Did she buy it? Did she made it herself? It's put back together, but with different words. Had to be her, right? Or was it the kid all along? Was it the kid's fantasy? So I don't think there's a definite answer on that. I want to chime in, and please, if you're a psychiatrist or a doctor that's seeing this, maybe you can bring a little bit of light on the subject. But this is very interesting to me, and I hope it is to you as well if you're still watching. Now, let's talk about the very end. Let's talk about the ending. They they both basically decide to face the demons. Face their demons, and you know the ending reminds me so much of A Beautiful Mind. Remember My Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe? At the end, he doesn't really get rid of the schizophrenia. He just deals with it. He sees the same hallucinations he sees, but he just kind of understands it and says, hey, I see you, but I'm not going to let you rule my life. And I think that's exactly the same thing. She says, yeah, I still see you, Babadook, but I know you can't hurt me because you're in my mind. You're just you know, you're real in a way. You're a real thing that is in my mind, but you can't hurt me unless I give in to you. I let you possess me. So there you go. I think that's the psychological some psychological aspects of the Babadook. There's many more, and like Grumpy Andrew said in his review, you really can't get rid of the Babadook. If you have a mental illness, there's no real cure for this. There's therapy you can do. There's things that you can, pills that you can take that may lessen the hallucinations, may help you sleep, may help, a lot of the symptoms, but you got to do that for life, man. There's no real cure for that. So there's no real cure for the Babadook, but it's really creepy. It's really the atmosphere of the film. It's just unbelievable. Like I said, I don't want to talk more about the film itself because so many people have talked about it, but it's one of the best psychological thrillers, horror movies that I've seen in a long time. So there you have it. I want to discuss one more thing with the. Even though she has this inner hatred, perhaps for her son, for all the things that happen, and perhaps blame it, it's a subconscious thing. I think she really does love her son very much. It's just that you know it's normal for people to put the blame on someone when they can't, when they're in a situation when they cannot fix, and they just can't leave it like that. They have to put the blame on something or someone, and unfortunately this is the kid. It's a real easy target for the mom to pick, but she does understand that and she changes it. Now, I want to leave you with a, with a weird thought. What if, because a lot of people, well, I seen some people that were not, you know, um, happy with the ending. I wonder if, just this is just a random thought, but if the book, I mean, if the movie would have ended with her on a mental institution and the child dead or something like that, would that have been, is that what people were looking for? The realistic thing is that, because that's, I wonder, is this what they were thinking about? But no, it's like Grand Prix Andrew said, this is a satisfying ending. I don't think it could have been any other way more satisfactory than the fact that, yeah, they both have mental illnesses, but they're both facing it. And if you're a person with mental illness watching this, that should give you some courage to keep going on. So it's an uplifting ending, if nothing else. So subscribe if you like the video. Put your comments on if you like them. And if you didn't like them, well, also tell me. Tell me why. If you didn't like the Babadook, I'd like to hear your reasons. Because they're, but all in all, fantastic movie. Fantastic acting by both. Fantastic directing. Like I said before. It's all been said before. So be blessed. Subscribe. Take it easy. And okay, I said it. I'll say it if it's in a book. If no, I won't say it. Just don't run into the Babadook. Ciao.